Hey guys, it's CalebBake01. Thank you for joining me again for one of my random horror reviews, and I also want to wish everybody a happy Halloween. I hope everybody has had a good, fun, safe, spooky season. I'm hoping that today's video actually comes out on Halloween because it's a couple days beforehand at the moment, but I think I've lined up everything right so that today's review comes out on the 31st. But without delaying any longer, let's get into today's film, which I believe is a massive hidden gem, especially since it's a film from the 80s. I mean, prime time for horror films. But I love this movie, however, I hear nobody talk about it, which is actually quite understandable because if you pick this one up off the shelf, I can see a lot of people looking at the cover and being like, no, that looks like garbage. However, as I said, I love this movie. I've seen it plenty of times. It's highly rewatchable. So today's film is Trick or Treat from 1986. Obviously not to be confused with Trick or Treat from 2007, 2008. But obviously that one's like a cult classic horror anthology. But no, today's film is Trick or Treat 1986. So starring Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne, but we'll get into that. As I said, the cover is just fucking terrible. Wouldn't you just pick this up and be like, no, that's not for me? So as I said, quite understandable maybe that people haven't seen this one, but I love it. But as usual, we'll quickly start with the plot and then we'll get into my thoughts. So the plot for this one, we have our lead, Eddie, who is a bit of an outcast, a misfit, purely because he is a metalhead. He just loves rock and roll, the music, the culture, just everything about it. But because of that, he's bullied at school. He doesn't have a lot of friends. However, at the start of the movie, his rock idol, fictional rock star, Sammi Curr, passes away and he is just completely distraught with hearing this news. However, his radio DJ friend Nuke, played by Gene Simmons, gives him one of Sammi Curr's unreleased records, I guess, as a gift to Eddie just because he's so upset. And Eddie takes this home and he actually plays the record backwards and hears this hidden message, and Sammi Curr, his spirit comes back to life and sort of helps Eddie get revenge on the people that have wronged him. And there's a lot that plays into it, but I'll sort of leave it there so you can sort of get the gist for this one. It's a little bit campy, a little bit goofy, but man, it's a lot of fun, so I'm really excited to talk about Trick or Treat. So as I said in my intro, just purely off the cover alone, I can see how a lot of people probably haven't checked this one out and turned away from this movie, picking it up, looking at the cover going, this looks shit, and putting it straight back down. And for the longest time, that's why I didn't check out this movie either. I mean, it's a fucking disaster, like a floating skull, two terribly cropped in images of Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne. It looks like a massive red flag. However, obviously I eventually got around to this movie and now it's one of my favorites whenever I want to watch a movie, somewhat along these lines. If you're a fan of these campy 80s supernatural slasher films, this is going to be right up your alley. And also, if you're a big fan of rock and roll and metal music like myself, I can see a lot of people having fun with this one. The title, Trick or Treat. Does this movie take place on Halloween? Yes. But it really isn't a huge factor into the plot. They probably could have went with a different title that would have suited the movie better also. And to not dance around the elephant in the room also, it says starring Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, they got to get people to check out this movie somehow, but these guys aren't huge factors in this movie either. I'd say Gene Simmons definitely over Ozzy Osbourne. As I said, he actually plays a character that appears quite frequently in this movie. He plays Eddie's radio DJ friend Nuke. He has a fair bit of dialogue, gets the ball rolling with the plot a little bit, but Ozzy Osbourne is purely there as a cameo. But with that being said, I quite enjoy his cameo. I think the character that he plays is actually quite funny. So, I mean, they're welcome into the cast, but don't be tricked by starring Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne. With that being said, the soundtrack is awesome. As I said, if you're a big fan of rock music and metal music, you're going to enjoy the music in this film. I think it's awesome. And to continue on that, sort of going into the plot, I really like how they play with the sensation and phenomena of hidden messages in songs. As I said, our lead Eddie gets the Sammi Curr record, plays it backwards and finds the hidden message that actually awakens Sammi. I thought that was a really cool touch because I remember the whole hidden message craze. I feel like it comes in and out of music every now and then, but I thought that was a really cool touch to add to the plot in this film. Now to go a little bit deeper into our characters, I really like our lead Eddie, played by Mark Price. As I said, this metalhead kid who's an outcast and just getting bullied at school purely because he likes rock and roll music. You know, he's just a very genuine character, really likable. I also really like Andrew Fields, who plays Sammy Kerr. I really like Sammy Kerr as a horror villain, obviously not on any top tier horror villains of all time or anything, but I really like his character, his presence, his powers are kind of cool. I'm not going to lie, his kills a little bit later in the film are a little lame, but overall, as I said, his character and his presence, really awesome. And that scene when Eddie first plays his record backwards and first summons Sammy, and Sammy's walking around his room getting the vibe, I really like that introduction to the character. And that's where he starts using Sammy's powers to get revenge on the bullies. And I always find in these movies, the bullies are so fucking over the top, you know, hating on Eddie purely because he likes rock and roll, which is somewhat believable, but the lengths that they go, like, there's a scene where they literally try to drown Eddie in the school pool as like, oh, you hate rock music, so I'm gonna kill you. It's like, it's so over the top, but it's the sort of thing that you see in these movies. And I guess to sort of continue on that point, actually, it's always in these movies where the lead who gets bullied gets these new supernatural forces and power to get revenge, and they start to get a little bit cocky, a little bit of a big head, because of this new level of confidence. And it's a little bit hit and miss in these movies, because sometimes it works, but then other times in this one, like in this one, you know, as I said, Eddie's a really likable character, and I'm sort of like, oh, no, I don't want to see you go down this path because it's going to make me not like you. And that was a problem with this film in the past for me. However, rewatching it this time bugged me way less, because he does have this new sense of confidence when he starts using Sammy's powers. However, he's brought back down to earth relatively quick. I remembered him being a lot more big-headed for a longer part of this movie, but he comes back down to earth pretty soon, so it genuinely didn't get to me as much in this film. Another problem with the plot maybe for me in this one, though, is we do have a love interest for Eddie. It's this character named Leslie. I mean, she's cute, she's into Eddie and everything, but purely I just feel like she has no connection with him. I don't get how she starts to have these feelings for Eddie. I just don't see it working. I just think she's there just to have a love interest in the film. So maybe that's a little bit wonky there, but overall, everything I'm saying here is just really minor stuff. As I said, it's what you sort of expect for these movies. It's campy, it's fun, and everything that I said doesn't ruin this movie for me. Now to get into the effects and kills in this movie. The effects are cheesy, over the top, everything that you sort of expect for a movie like this, which is fine. The kills, to be completely honest, there's not many of them, and as the movie gets on, they get a little bit worse, a little bit lame overall, but it doesn't really affect my rating too much with this one. It's sort of what I expected, honestly. The ending, however, has always sort of stuck out to me a little bit like a sore thumb. Just the way they kill Sammy and defeat Sammy. I'm not going to get into that for those who haven't seen this movie, but how they kill him should have killed Eddie also. I mean, Sammy is technically already dead. He's this supernatural being, but he is killed and defeated. The way they do it should have killed Eddie. If you've seen this movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know how Eddie survived and Sammy didn't. I just think that's crazy, but it adds to the charm and the cheesiness of it. So, as I said, I really enjoy that. Overall, this movie is a lot of fun. As I said, I perfectly understand how this movie would turn people away. I can't get over how bad this cover is. I know there's alternative cover art out there, but I know this is majority of most releases how they look, so I can see how this movie has turned a lot of people away. As I said, for the longest time I didn't check this one out, but now it is highly rewatchable. I come back to this movie quite often. It's just this boost of joy every time I watch it. I don't need to focus in too much to the plot. I can just sort of turn my brain off and have fun with this one. So hopefully, if you haven't seen this movie, you guys can check it out. If you have seen this movie, let me know in the comments your thoughts on it. But getting into the rating of Trick or Treat from 1986, I am going to give it a 7.5. As I said, I have a lot of fun with it. Of course, it has its problems. It's cheesy. It's over the top. But at the end of the day, I have fun. And there is a lot of enjoyment factor that I get from this movie. So thank you again for joining me for today's random horror review. I guess it was technically in a Halloween episode. I want to let you guys know, maybe the people that have come to my channel before, I actually intended on doing a bigger, more grand video for this Halloween episode. But what stopped me is purely just life. I have other things going on. I'm sure people probably do understand. My priorities more than just YouTube. Of course, I love making content for you guys, and as I said, I was hoping to do something a little bit bigger, but things are going on, and these things that are going on in my life are more important than making YouTube videos. So I just want to apologize and let you guys know, as I said, I intended on doing something bigger. My idea that I had, I'm not throwing it out the window. Hopefully I can actually get around to it sooner. I'm not going to wait for next Halloween. But I just want to let you guys know I did have something bigger planned. So in a way, it's sort of a apology for just having a review as my Halloween episode. But on the other hand, I also hope that you guys just understand that, you know, things get in the way. I have other things going on also. But hopefully you enjoyed today's review. As I said, I feel like this movie is a hidden gem. Not a lot of people have seen it, but if you have, let me know in the comments below. Or maybe you go and watch it and just come back. Let me know your thoughts on this one. As I said, I can see a lot of people having fun with this one, especially if you are a fan of these 80s supernatural slasher films. Yeah, I can see a lot of people really sinking their teeth into this one. So thank you for joining me again, guys, and I will see you for some more content soon. Happy Halloween again.